Today on Midlife Conversations, I've got Laura Haeikkila, and I can't wait to talk with her today because I started following her on Instagram because she's got this great page called So This Is 50, and we'll put all this in the show notes later so you can see. But found myself really loving her content because she is living and walking the walk that I'm constantly sharing about. She is one of those examples completely thriving over 50. She's in her mid 50s. She does not look even close to 50. She is thriving. She's doing all the things as far as how she looks, how she acts, her mindset, all the things. And I thought, I've got to have her on and understand a little bit more about how she lives in her daily life, what tips she has for us, because she is walking this. She's walking this. As many times as I have experts on in various subjects, I love getting people on that are truly applying all this knowledge so they can give us the inside scoop on it. So thank you so much for being here today, Laura.
Oh, thanks so much for having me.
Okay, let's back up a little bit. How did this even start? How did you become this big personality on social media? How did you get into
Okay.
the weight loss space?
So, all right. So my plan wasn't when I started my social media I actually didn't even want anybody to know about it. Like I picked a name that none of my friends were going to know. And I was getting ready to turn 50. I was about 49, I guess, when I started it. And I just kind of wanted to document my journey to turning 50.
Mm,
And so I thought, okay, I'm gonna start this page and I'm just gonna post some things that I feel like are working for me. And then it kind of started just snowballing where I started realizing like, oh man, there's all these other women that are getting ready to turn 50 and they're kind of like freaking out and, and wondering what's going to happen. And so that's kind of how it got started.
yeah, I love it because you started your journey the way that I started mine originally in my 30s, just documenting a journey. It's almost like you use it as your own journal, and then
Mhm.
people start following along. What is it about this turning 50 thing that you think from your perspective now that feels so pivotal? Like I know I can speak for me, 40s did not affect me. I don't think I would say kind of midlife, but I didn't understand it. Something
Right.
about that 50 number definitely affected me.
I think something about turning 50 is a lot of it is for me, it was, I remember years ago, women that I knew that were a little bit older than me, they would always say to me, oh, just wait till you turn 50. It's all down. Just wait till you turn 50. And I would always be like, oh my God, like I was freaking out before 50 because I was like, oh my gosh, is everything just like you magically wake up after you turn 50 and it's
Yeah.
like, you're gray and everything's sagging. And, so I was kind of worried about it, and so I was like, okay, I'm going to really like kick it, in gear this year before I turn 50 so that I could like prove to myself and, to maybe other people that, okay, turning 50 is really not so bad. It's in
Yeah.
fact not bad at all.
So it's funny because I had that same experience, and I will say that I don't think it's that bad. There are things that change for
For
sure. They're just
sure.
not
Mhm.
as drastic, terrible as doomsday as we once believed that they were.
Exactly.
That's my experience. I don't know how you feel about
Exactly.
that.
No, exactly. I felt exactly the same. Yeah.
So what were some of the biggest changes that you did not expect?
Of turning 50. Let's see. The biggest thing I didn't notice so much turning 50. I think I noticed a few more changes like once I went through menopause.
Okay.
Like turning 50, I don't think I noticed like a whole lot of changes. It was little bit closer to like going through menopause that I started noticing like changes in my skin,
Yeah.
changes in my hair, just kind of those like bit more physical changes. Um, and a little bit more obviously, you start getting a little bit more hot, got to throw the blankets off,
Yeah.
those
The
type
the
of,
the fun the fun side effect things.
yeah, those type of things, definitely. Maybe a little bit more, sometimes a little bit lower energy levels. But all in all, I can't say that there was anything like super pivotal that I
Yeah.
noticed, that changed.
So when you started going through menopause, and I'm going to ask this because there's a lot of people listening that are approaching or not there yet, or just starting to walk through it. There's a big difference between, I agree with you, like just turning 50, the number, that's one thing, but there's something about the change in hormones that really drastically changes people. And there's a lot of people listening that are really scared of that conversation of like, what am I going to do when this happens? Or
Right.
what is okay to do. I'm curious, like your personal approach on that. Like I'm a huge fan for myself of bioidentical hormones. I'm wondering if that's something that you align with or you don't align with, or how did you
Yeah.
even navigate all the stuff with the hormone changes?
Okay. So I actually am a total believer in bioidenticals, but I personally don't take any. And but I say always yet, because I know that at some point I probably will reach that point where my levels will be like, okay, I need
Hmm.
to, or the symptoms will come along where I kind of really feel like, okay, I need to. I can't say that I haven't ever taken them though. Really, for me, my most difficult hormonal issues were in pure menopause. I
Okay. Talk to us about that.
struggled.
And what did
I
you learn?
struggled. So, what I kind of went through was, I about like 47, 48, super, super heavy cycles. And that happens with a lot of
That's
women,
exactly
but
me. Yep.
yeah,
Exactly the
especially
same
the
thing.
women that are more on the estrogen dominant side.
Yep.
So I was struggling with these horrible, I mean, like could barely leave the house, some days. And
Hmm.
so then I became extremely anemic. And then I struggled to even like, I was struggling with my workouts and I was getting so frustrated with myself because I still wanted to like push, but I just couldn't even, even go there. And then that just led to, I was starting to put on a little bit of weight, and I just was all, overall, I just felt like my moods were like this, my hormones were like this. And so I did at that point go on progesterone because my
To
progesterone
balance
level
out the
was so
estrogen
low.
dominance. Yep.
Yeah, to balance that out, went on some supplements, did some things for the estrogen dominance, and kind of got my periods back to a little bit more of a normal.
Hmm.
Had to do a bunch of things to work on the anemia. And so by the time, it took me about a year or so of just working on all of that to kind of start really feeling better. And then by that point, I was getting closer to like my 50, I think I was
Yeah.
about 49. And then I was feeling like good enough to be like, okay, I'm really going to hit this hard before I turn 50. And then I honestly, I feel like since then, a lot of the things that lifestyle things I started doing and a lot of the things that I worked on really did kind of help me ease through menopause a little bit easier.
Yeah, I'm so curious what some of those things are and I'm curious about your choice around hormones because this is a really controversial topic for people and they feel like it's like damned if they do, damned if they don't. People are judged if they do or don't. I don't personally think of hormones as cheating. I think everyone's got a personal choice there and
Yeah.
whatever it is that works best for them. But I also understand that a lot of people choose not to do that for their own reasons. So I would love to get your help on that. Like, how did you just mentioned mindset? Like, what are some things that you've done to fully help you, especially since you're not doing the hormone part right now? Like, what has
Yeah.
had to change to keep you
Hmm.
going? Because
Right.
honestly, I would have guessed you're on them. And I know that sounds funny, but most people I see that are in their 50s that look amazing and are fully thriving in the energy, they usually are on them. So it's surprising that you're not. So I love
Yeah.
that. I'm just so curious, like what do you do?
Okay. So I think number one is managing stress, because stress is a hormone depleter. It's going to deplete your estrogen, your progesterone, your testosterone. It's going to affect your insulin, your cortisol, all of those things. Whoop, as I lose my top here. And so I feel like managing stress isn't just about like, we're all under stress, you just have
Yeah.
like that daily stress, but it's also the stress that we put on our bodies. And I feel like this was kind of the reason why I had so many hormonal issues earlier in my 40s, is
Yeah.
because it wasn't just, yes, I own businesses all the time. I did have stress there, but it was the under eating too much, the over exercising, that putting that constant stress on my body, doing too much cardio, doing all these things.
Oh my gosh, women, are you listening? Because this
Yeah.
is so pop. This is what people do. This is what we're doing. This is
Exactly,
what a lot of us are
exactly.
doing. Yeah.
And what I didn't realize is that all of those things I was doing, like to stay in shape and to stay, fit in my 40s, was actually like backfiring on me because I already had enough stress in my life. I didn't need to
Mhm.
add all that extra stress to it. And stress depletes your hormones. The other thing is like sleep. Sleep is so vital. I mean, that stresses your body even more. So if you're not sleeping well, that's going to affect your hormones. So I really, really prioritize like just I changed my mindset a lot about
Mhm.
how I deal with things. And I feel like I'm so much more like just easygoing now. Like I just don't sweat
Yeah.
the small stuff.
So
I
how
just
did you do that, Laura? 'Cause I know this might sound like a funny question, but so many of us know to not sweat to not do those things. But how do you actually
Yeah,
get
it's
yourself
like
to
it's
adjust.
something you have to become like super conscious of. Like I always noticed when I was like really stressed out about something, I would tend to like grit my teeth and get like really and really tense. And
Yeah.
so I became really like aware of the signs that I was feeling overstressed. And in the beginning, when I would catch myself doing it, I would like take like, okay, Laura, 5 breaths. I like literally like talk to
Yeah.
myself and I'd be like, okay, take 5 breaths. I tell my clients all the time, and I would ask myself, did anyone die? No. Okay, nobody died. So is it the end of the world? No, just figure out how you're going to fix it and stop stressing more.
Wow. Okay.
And then in the beginning, it, it would maybe take me a while before I would catch myself and realize I was in that stress. Now it's like so quick to me. It's like, it's
Yeah.
like something you almost have to practice over and over and over before you finally, it's like, you just automatically will react that way. Not that I don't ever,
Mhm.
freak
Mhm.
out about something, but for the most part now, I just really, catch myself and really put things into perspective. Like this isn't the end of the world. And I think because I know so much about what stress does to the body, it's like I don't want to let myself go there because I know just, the domino
Mhm.
effect that it has.
Yeah.
So, and stress puts on body fat.
It
So,
does. It does, especially
so
that
it's like, yeah.
cortisol. Yep,
So
of
don't
course,
stress.
that belly
Yeah.
fat. How do you like so how do you feel when people say thing and I'm guilty of it too. I said it to you. And even though when people say it to me, I'm always like, well, what's it supposed to look like? When someone says you don't look your age or you don't seem your age, what is your thoughts around that?
I mean, I guess I mean, I think that's a great compliment when people say that, but I feel like we're just like a new generation of
Yeah,
50.
that's
Like
exactly
I
how I
love that,
feel.
like I love that, picture of like the Golden Girls and then like,
Yeah.
J Lo and Shakira or something, when they did that. Like it's like just a total different, I don't know. We're
I
not,
feel like it needs a full rebrand because it's,
yeah.
it's interesting. It's because I tend to find and collect a lot of people like you
Mhm.
that we're redefining it. It's a whole different thing and it's super aspirational. And what I like about that is even though everything is not about appearance at all, what I like is when somebody is feeling really down going through menopause in their 50s, wherever it is, and they're in that midlife feeling down and like not relevant anymore. And then they see
Mhm.
someone like you and they think, okay, it's possible. It's possible. I get excited when that's becoming more and more the norm because to me, when someone says you don't look your age, to me, I'm thinking, well, what's it supposed to look like? Like how did we decide that 50s was
Exactly.
supposed to be like the Golden Girls? Like where did that's just, it feels like a very dated concept.
Well, I think it's just what's out there in the media and things like that is that
Mhm.
they, basically once women, hit their 50s, they're not considered relevant anymore.
Yes.
But I do think there's so many women out there now that are, there's so many women on social media now that I come across their accounts. And I mean, women in their 60s and 70s that I'm like, whoa, like,
Yeah.
okay, now you're my
Yeah.
inspiration.
Really
Like,
up leveling.
I want to be you, when I'm 70. So I feel like women are, just they're not so afraid anymore. I think even of what people I think a lot of times before it was like, oh, well, what will people think if I dress like that? Or what will people think if and I think now people are just like, women are like, you know what, I'm gonna be who I want to be.
Hmm.
And now, like I said, when I mentioned to you when I started my social media, I was embarrassed for anybody I know to see it and be like, oh my God, why are you posting pictures of yourself in a bathing suit or and now I'm like, I'm proud of it because I feel like
Yes,
I realized how many women I've inspired to,
for sure.
take back control of their own, because you kind of feel like you've lost control of your body going through,
Yes.
perimenopause and menopause. And so I'm glad that so many women are realizing like, I can take back control. The power is mine. Like to be told that, menopause or getting older or any of those things is going to completely change your whole life. It doesn't have to. You do have
Mhm.
control.
I love that. It doesn't have to. You have control. If you were to give us kind of like the rundown of these are the things that you must do if you want to age well, help me with those categories. Like what would you say? Like you must
Okay.
do this.
Okay. So stress, I already went
Mhm.
over. Sleep, super, super important. Nutrition is like, I mean, it's definitely 80, 90% of it. I mean, you can, like they say, you can't out exercise a bad diet.
And
So
how talk to us a little bit about that. Like what's your concept of eating well?
My concept of eating well is having a diet largely of whole foods, like just staying away from,
Mhm.
all of the processed
So
foods.
natural, real, unprocessed foods.
Yes,
Yep.
yes. So, the women that are like living off of protein bars, and I see it so much in the women I work with, that are just, grabbing food here and there, living off of protein bars and all of that. It
Mhm.
just doesn't work
Yeah.
well
You're eating
for
dead foods at that point. It's like, that's how I feel.
exactly.
Like if you eat things that were alive and vibrant and like real, like things that once
Yeah,
grew, I always say
yeah, exactly.
totally helps.
I think women need to prioritize their protein as they get
Mhm.
older. You have
Talk to
to
us
eat
about that. How much
protein.
protein do you personally take in?
I personally eat probably more than 1 gram per my body weight in
And do you
pounds.
have to work hard to do that?
No, I don't. I know a lot of women do struggle with that, but no, I eat like 4 times a day and just kind of divide it
Mhm.
over 4 meals.
Mhm.
And I find it to be
So
pretty
I work
easy.
very hard. I do the same thing. I work to get over 100 grams a day.
Mhm.
But it's work. I will say that because I don't
Yeah,
always
yeah.
want to eat that much of it, but I do prioritize it like you said.
Yeah, you have to. I mean, it's just, it's the building blocks of
Mhm.
building muscle. And we have to build muscle as we get older, not,
Yep.
only for our body composition, but to keep our metabolism going, for our bone density, for our longevity, all of those things. So
Mm,
to me, it is the fountain of youth. Like
okay.
good nutrition, building muscle,
Yeah.
getting your sleep, getting your water. I mean, it's
Do
pretty
you ever
simple.
have your days where it does get to you and you're thinking, well, maybe I do. I'm just going to own it. I have
Mhm.
days where I'm in the gym and I'm like, well, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it is harder. I mean, I have to kind of psych myself out of that conversation sometimes.
I mean, I see all these things. I saw a post today where it said that studies show that up until 70, it's no harder to build muscle. And I don't know if I believe that. Like,
Yeah.
I, I,
Like I fully believe. Okay, so
some say
this is
that, but
my truth, and I'm saying it for everyone to hear. Like
yeah,
I know that we can build muscle. I know that we can
yeah,
age well. I know that we can be. I know all of that. I do get my butt kicked sometimes and question. So
yeah,
and then I
no,
recalibrate. Because
yeah,
like in
for
my
sure.
40s, I'll say in my 40s, I thought it'll never change. Like it'll always be this. But I'll start seeing somebody that's like they can be super fit 70, 80. Things are still going to start falling. They just do. Like there's some things that we just don't change, that we
No,
can't
it's,
change.
no, it's
Gravity's still
absolutely.
real.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. I mean, it's and I think I was mentioning before, like the changes in your skin, the changes in that.
Yeah.
Well, the changes in the skin, it's your skin's not as tight. Things don't look as,
Yes.
look as firm as they used to.
Yeah.
So,
So I want to get to some of the nitty gritty on that because I agree.
uh-huh.
Like the skin, for me, for example, I used to be a huge self tanner fan. I can't wear self tanner because it doesn't look good on aging skin. I don't think it
Yeah.
does on me.
Mhm.
But so what are some of your tricks? Like, how do you, because obviously our hair changes, our skin changes. Like,
Mhm.
what are some of your personal, like, what are Laura's, some of your tricks, your favorites that you use or have discovered?
Okay. So I do a lot of dry brushing.
Okay. Talk to us about
Um,
that. So, because a lot of
yeah.
people don't know what that is.
Oh, okay. So dry brushing is using like a brush that has kind of those bristles that are, I don't even know what they call those bristles, but they're a little firmer bristles. They're
Yep.
made specifically. You can go on Amazon and look up for a dry brush. Um, and you work in kind of a brushing up motion, up
Mhm.
to, I think you're supposed to be going up towards your
Your
heart.
heart. Yep.
Yeah. So, but that's to help with like lymphatic and
And do you see a
circulate
difference and feel a
circulation.
difference doing that?
I do, because sometimes I get out of the routine
Mhm.
and I do notice a difference
Okay.
when
And how
I don't
often do
do
you
it.
have to do it to keep it as a routine?
I try to do it like I have it right by my shower. So right before I get
Okay.
in the shower, I just,
That's good.
try to do it. Then when I get out of the shower, I have a little like kind of it's like a roller thing that kind of has little nubbies on it,
Okay.
like a hand roller. And then so I'll roll I'll roll
Okay.
my legs. Usually
And what does
my
that
I usually
do? I have the dry brush,
concentrate
but
on,
I don't know the
again,
roll
it's kind
thing.
of like a circulation, thing. It's kind of more of a circulate. You need blood flow, like to,
Okay.
to that area. So
Okay.
because part of like cellulite and things like that is lack
So
of
we need a dry brush and a rolly thing. Do you know what those are
dry brush.
called?
I'm going to do an Instagram reel on it.
Okay.
I
So
actually
by the
was
time
already
this
thinking
airs, we're going to have that
I was
up.
thinking about it actually yesterday. I was doing it. I'm like, I need to make a reel on this.
Yes.
So
Because I don't
yeah.
know what this roly thing, do you know what it's called? The roly thing? was going to call it a rolly thing. Do you know?
No, a fascia roller.
Oh, a fascia roller. Okay. Yes, I know
Yeah,
what that is. Okay. Got
yeah,
it.
a
Okay.
fascia
That's what
roller.
it is.
But
So
you know how they have that fascia blaster, that thing that
yes,
they use it. But to me, this little hand thing is easier
is
to
easier.
use.
You probably put
Yeah.
lotion on him with it and stuff. Okay. So those are good skin tricks. What do you do about, okay. So the other like weird thing that happens over 50 is our
Mhm.
skin complexion color changes. Like it gets that thinner, like more transparent. Do you, any tricks
Oh,
that you have around that? Or what have you learned
no,
there?
no,
No,
sorry.
I have a trick on that one. Okay. Here,
Oh,
my
okay,
trick,
yeah,
my
let's
trick,
hear this.
ladies, is
Yeah.
it's so inexpensive at the drugstore too. It's the have you seen the airbrush spray? It's like Sally Hansen.
Oh,
I just
no.
get the natural skin color, and it just like if you're
Mhm.
gonna wear a dress and you have your legs showing, you just spray it on. It's light. It's like almost like a light makeup, but it makes your skin, it takes like
Oh,
20 years off your skin. It's better than
oh,
self
cool.
tanner because it doesn't creep into like your dark spots. So that's my
Oh,
little
okay.
trick for
Well, good.
appearance on
Okay,
skin.
good tip. Good
Okay,
tip.
what about hair? What are your tricks there? Because our hair does that changes too.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the collagen does help. The
Okay.
collagen helps a lot with the hair growth. I
Yes.
don't know if there's like a lot you can do about like I feel like it's your hair's a little duller
Yes.
as you go, so I don't know if there's a lot that you can do. I mean, I try to, use decent hair products, but
Yes.
I feel like the collagen does help like with the growth of
Yes.
my
I
hair.
agree.
Like it grows like a weed. So,
I
and
agree.
I do like the collagen like for my skin too.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I
I'm a
think it's
huge fan of
another,
collagen.
yeah.
That's a great one. Okay. Those are
Mhm.
good. And then what have you learned? Okay. I mean, I'm asking you strange questions, but I
Mhm.
know
Okay.
women want to hear this stuff too. What's your thoughts on makeup as we age? Like I love makeup, but I've really truly learned that less is
So
more
so
as we
yes,
age. How do you
okay,
feel?
so yeah, so what I have found is that, lately, I have just not even been, like, wearing foundation. I've just been doing, like, the, highlighter stick and the contour, like, and just
Wow.
kinda doing that and
Okay.
blending it in and not even doing the full face of foundation.
Wow.
And that's maybe it's for pictures, stuff, but, like, in actual real life,
Yeah.
I feel like it looks almost
Yeah.
better, like, not to have the
Yeah,
cakey,
it's fun.
yeah.
Like I'm looking at you and you look so natural and if you guys don't see her on video, you can go onto the YouTube and you can see her, you could check out her social media and see. But I personally, I know it's their own thing, but I think sometimes some of the things that are in for the 20 and 30-year-olds, they just don't look right on us in our mid 50s.
Yeah,
Like when the women that do the huge lash extensions and the big bushy
yeah,
eyebrows, it just doesn't look right on us at this
yeah,
age.
yeah,
Maybe some of you can pull it off. I
yeah.
can't.
In fact, I don't usually ever wear eyelash extensions, but I actually did them. We were going to the wineries with some friends, and I did them on Sunday, and then
Well, yours look natural. I'm talking about the ones that have the caterpillar eyes.
yeah, no, these are like I did them myself. They're like the ones that last like 10 days
Yeah.
that you can do
Oh
yourself.
yeah.
And
Like,
so I did them, and then I was like, "Oh wait, I'm just gonna leave them on for my podcast." So,
yeah,
but
that's great. Well, they
normally,
look great.
yeah, normally I don't. I don't
Yeah.
wear them anymore. But yeah, I kind of feel like as you get older, kind of like
Yeah.
less is more for
Okay.
sure.
Talk to me about community and who you surround yourself with and like what you listen to. Like, because I think that stuff's so important. And I'm wondering if you do too, because I think a lot of women, one of the reasons that they don't feel good about aging is who they're surrounding themselves with. They're around a lot of people that aren't up leveling their life. So I'm wondering about
Right.
your circle
Yeah.
and who you're around.
Yeah. So I usually choose, to be around people who are into health and fitness, I'm not, I like to go out and have fun. We live in the wine country,
Mhm.
but I'm not a huge, I mean, most of the people that know me know like I'm like the person who will have one glass or something, I'm not like a huge because I just don't like the way it makes me feel,
Yeah.
especially since going through like menopause. Like I feel like it just brings on hot flashes and I just don't like how I
Me too.
feel as much. So um I like people, yeah, I like people that when I leave being around them, I feel like I want to be a better person.
Oh, I love that.
Like,
That's such a great way to say that.
yeah, yeah.
I'm a huge fan. Those of you listening, if you don't have a network of people like that, that's where I do love social media. That's where I do love podcasts. That's where I love even
Mhm.
audibles, like finding, because I feel like you can have anybody's mindset in with you if you're listening to it. So I'm a huge fan of listening to audibles and different
Yeah,
podcasts.
I
And
listen to podcasts like I try to get 10,000 steps every day.
it's
That's my other
amazing.
secret.
Okay.
Get my 10,000 steps every day. I listen to podcasts, when I do that. So I've been catching up on your podcast And I listen to like JJ Virgins, and I
Hmm.
listen to Ed Milet, a few other like just people that I think
Yeah.
are that I like health ones, but I like other inspiring ones. And when I go to the gym, I listen to podcasts while I'm there
Hmm.
too. So
And then I know one thing I do, and I don't know if you do this, Laura, but I make sure like who I'm actually following makes me feel better when I scroll. So like I'm
yeah,
not a fan of following people that if I see their post, it makes me feel bad about myself. I know that might sound funny. Like
yeah,
I'm looking for
no,
inspiration, motivation, empowerment versus like if I
I
find myself having that any negative thought, I don't want
right.
to follow.
Yeah, no, I agree. And that's why I feel like I tend to follow more even I probably almost everyone I follow is over 40 at
Yes.
least.
Yeah, I've really
And
pivoted
even
with that.
yeah, and even more so I have a lot of like in the women in their 60s and 70s because I feel like, okay, I want inspiration,
Yeah, for
So it's like
sure.
I want to know that I can still be doing this,
Hmm.
when I get, older. And so I tend to follow people. Yes, I tend to follow people like that. I tend to, it's like, why am I going to follow 20 or
Hmm.
30-year olds that, yeah, they may have banging bodies, but it's like,
Yeah, I feel like we
I'm
all
not in
did
that.
in our 20s. So
Yeah,
kind of like,
exactly.
yeah,
Exactly. It was easy back
yeah,
then. Yeah. I
yes,
want to follow the people that I know are really, are putting in the
totally.
work. And then I tend to follow people more just that are a little bit more on the natural holistic side, just kind of
Sure,
more health side, because you can be skinny and have a great body, but it doesn't mean you got it in a healthy
for
way.
sure. That makes
And for
sense.
me, yeah.
Yeah, that
And
keeps
for
you
me,
surrounded in that.
yeah.
There's something else you just said that I don't even know if you picked up on it, but I want to point this out because I was really thinking about this week. That I had done a post recently and I mentioned something about midlife because I'm always talking about midlife. And
Hmm.
a guy commented and he said, midlife is more like 40 because most people live to 80. And I thought that was such a strange comment because midlife to me is, 50s, like actually on Google, it's 40 to 62. But midlife to me is really any time kind of in between. And
Yeah.
it never has entered my brain that I will only live till 80. Like that doesn't enter my brain. What enters my brain is I want to like really thrive and live well into my 80s, 90s, and 100s. Like I want to still be mobile. I want to still feel good. I still want to be confident. I want to have my memory and my focus. Like I focus on what I want to create versus like there's this dead stop here. And you just
Right.
said something similar. I don't even know if you caught it, but you said I like to follow people older because it's inspiring for me to see what's possible. So I want to encourage anyone listening too to really start thinking, how do you view aging? And have you even thought about how long you want to live and what you want that to look like? Because I think a lot of people, they just accept something as like,
Right.
this is an average or this is whatever.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't ever like to think of myself as the average,
Yeah,
I always want to strive, I always want to strive at least to be more than that.
for sure.
And so, yeah, no, I mean, the one thing, I mean, there's great things about social media. There's not so great things about being on social media. And I'm sure you
Oh, yeah.
agree with that. I mean, some of it's great for your self-esteem and some of it's not. It's
Very
difficult for
true.
sure.
Very true.
But the one thing I do love about social media is you get to see so many things out there now where there's like these posts of like women that are like 90, and they're just, and usually they're being interviewed maybe by their daughter or something, and they're asking like, what's your key to, I love those posts. I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm about those. I think they show up on my feed all the time because those are the ones that
Yes.
I'm liking. Like I love
There's one
seeing.
person I follow. I can't remember her name, but she always features her mom in her 90s. And it's pretty,
Yeah,
it's, yeah,
I wonder if I follow that same one. Yeah, I love that. Like those posts to me are so inspiring because I feel like if you do stay active, and I mean, we can't control everything that happens in
of
our life,
course.
right? So, but if I feel like if you do stay active and you do, always have some type of purpose in life. Like I think you have to have a purpose in life. And
I
if you
like
have
that.
some type of purpose, that'll keep your brain, that'll keep you,
Mm,
both of my father died of Alzheimer's. My mom was just recently diagnosed. And
wow.
what I realized, and my mom was like, so healthy, hiked. I mean, and
Yeah.
she was 80 years old and still hiking could do 6 months. But what she lost was her purpose. She lost
Mm,
that getting out every day and communicating with people and doing things that, and
yeah,
seeing that made me realize, like, I don't want to retire. I don't want to just sit
of
back and not
course.
do anything. I always want to have at least something, that
That's so
some kind of
good.
purpose in life to keep me going.
That's so good, Laura.
Mhm.
Speaking of the Alzheimer's, and I'm so sorry about that. What do you know for yourself based on that? So like a lot of times people, and the
Mhm.
reason I'm asking this is a lot of people will say both my parents had this or both my parents had that. So it almost becomes like this I'm going to get this too because of my parents. I'm
Right.
curious your attitude
Mhm.
about that.
Yeah. So, one of the things that, I've learned a lot about Alzheimer's is, I mean, inflammation is a big
Mhm.
factor in that. So, that's again where it goes back to nutrition,
Sure. Yeah. And blood sugar.
nutrition.
There's so much
Yeah,
to be said for
exactly.
it
And
being
blood
the
sugar
type
too.
3 diabetes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. So I feel like, if I can, really control my diet, which
Mhm.
I can, I'm the
Yeah.
person that can control that. So, I feel like I can, I've listened to enough podcasts and read enough things that they say that genetics is actually, yes, genetics plays a part, but it actually plays a smaller part than we
I
realize.
believe that. I believe
Yeah,
it's more epigenetics and
yeah,
our
for
mindset and
sure.
our belief for sure.
Exactly.
It's really
Exactly.
interesting. I interviewed recently. I don't know if you heard it on my podcast, but those of you listening right now, you definitely want to hear this one, the one with Nasha Winters about metabolic guide to cancer, basically.
Oh
But
no, but I'm
she,
going to go back
oh
and
yeah,
listen to that one.
it's one of my favorite
Mhm.
interviews of all times because she really, I read the
Besides this
book.
one, right?
What was that? Oh, besides this one, of
Besides
course.
this
Yes,
one.
yes. So if you go back a few episodes ago, her book is fantastic too. But the podcast, well, I read the books many times, and then I was so interested in recording her. But she really ties everything to our food in a really different way than we've been learning about. It's more than just keto. It's more than just like a way of eating unprocessed food. She's really in on how blood sugar has affects us and our mindset and our belief around things, and then just all areas and she really does go into epigenetics about like the products that we're using, the environment that we're around, stress, all the things that you mentioned. But I just like what you're saying. You're saying that it's what we believe, it's what we surround ourselves with, it's these things that we do. And then she goes into some of the science around why that works. But I really do believe that any of us, if we think we are doomed and we're going to get something, we will prove that true. And
Right.
if we think the opposite, that we're going to create a different reality, that we can
Right.
make that our reality
Yeah.
too.
The mind is a very strong thing.
Yes.
Yeah,
Well,
for
thank you
sure.
so much, Laura. I wanted to get to know you better. I love, thank you for coming on because I really want people to hear from women like walking the walk, doing the things like you represent everything that I'm talking about in midlife. Like I really wanted people to get to know you better. You got to follow her on social media. Your exact handle, it's this is 50, correct? Like this underscore is
It's
underscore
yeah,
50.
so it's at so underscore this underscore is underscore 50.
We'll
I
write it
think
in the
if you
show
just
notes
put
too.
so this is, you start typing it in,
It'll
it
come up.
kind of will, it'll, yeah,
Okay. Or
it'll
you can go to
probably
who
come up.
I'm following and find her there too. And then where do you have any place else you want people to go to look for you? And where are you most active on social?
I'm most active on Instagram, on Facebook, and YouTube. It's under my Ageless Women's Society.
Okay.
So that is my
Amazing.
community of
And so she's
women
got a
that,
community and helps with weight loss and nutrition and all the things.
yeah, all those things for women over
Amazing.
40. So
Thank you so much, Laura. Thank you.
thank you for having me.